Imagine a brand new, shiny bus starts running in your city. It's perfectly clean, the seats are super soft, and everyone is incredibly excited to ride it. But then, on Monday, one passenger decides to scratch a seat with a key. On Tuesday, someone else picks at a seat and tears just a tiny piece of the fabric. On Wednesday, another person spits inside the bus. And you know what? Every single one of them thinks the exact same thing. Hey, it's only a tiny thing.
Okay, let's dive into this. Think about that for a second. If one person does something small, well, maybe it doesn't seem like a big deal to them. But a city bus carries hundreds and hundreds of passengers every single week. So, what actually happens when hundreds of people all decide to do just one tiny, careless thing? Exactly. The math is really simple, but the result? A total disaster. One tiny scratch, multiplied by 100 passengers, literally equals a completely ruined bus in just a few months. It goes from a beautiful new ride to a total mess that nobody wants to sit in. Which brings us to a really important question for this explainer. If something doesn't belong to us personally, like that bus, does that mean we can just treat it carelessly? Absolutely not. In fact, shared property needs everyone's care. It all comes down to a balance between our rights and our responsibilities. Think about it. When you buy a bus ticket, you're purchasing the right to travel on that bus. But having a right to use something absolutely does not give you the right to destroy it. Along with the right to use shared spaces comes the responsibility to protect them so they stay nice for you and, of course, for the next person who buys a ticket. So, the crucial point is understanding what we actually mean by shared spaces. We call this public property. Public property is basically any shared property or facility meant for public use or benefit. Think about roads, city buses, railways, and public parks. These aren't owned by just one family, right? They're shared by thousands of citizens. And because so many people depend on these facilities every single day, they require care from every single person who uses them. On the flip side, we have private property. This is property owned by a specific person, a family, a group, or a private owner. Your family's house? That's private property. Your clothes, your bicycle, or even a doctor's privately owned clinic. Because private property belongs to someone else, we can't just walk in, take it, or use it whenever we want. We absolutely must respect the owner's rights and always ask for permission. All right, let's test this out with a quick Whose Is It challenge. Let's think about a few everyday items and sort them out. A city bus? Well, that's public and shared. What about your classmate's pencil box? Yeah, that is definitely personal and private property. You definitely need to ask before taking a pencil. A public park? Public. Your friend's parked bicycle? Private. Now, what about a giant historic monument that's open to visitors? That is public property, specifically national heritage, which means it belongs to everyone and must be protected. Now, knowing who owns what, well, that's just step one. Step two is how we actually behave. Imagine you're walking home. You finish a snack, and you've got this plastic wrapper. You look around, and you are completely alone. No teachers, no parents, no friends anywhere. Is it still important to walk all the way to a bin to throw it away? If you answered yes, you are already practicing something called civic sense. Civic sense means behaving responsibly in public places and showing consideration for other people. A person with true civic sense doesn't need a monitor or a parent watching them every single minute to do the right thing. They hold on to that wrapper until they find a bin, because they understand that our community simply works better when we care about each other and our shared spaces.
And this brilliantly illustrates what good citizenship looks like in everyday life. It's really not complicated. Showing civic sense means putting waste in a bin so you aren't littering. It means sitting properly on a train seat instead of putting muddy shoes all over it. It means never scratching or breaking surfaces and always following the posted rules. Ultimately, it just means leaving a shared place in great condition so the next person can enjoy it just as much as you did.
If you ever catch yourself thinking, come on, why does my one action even matter? Remember the bus from earlier. Suppose one person drops one wrapper on the road. It looks so small, right? But if 500 people walk down that exact same road and make the exact same careless choice, suddenly you've got 500 pieces of litter. The street is ruined. Individual careless actions multiply rapidly, turning a tiny thing into a massive public problem.
Let's look at another reason why damaging shared property is such a big deal. Imagine your classroom gets one big, beautiful box of shared crayons for everyone to use. Awesome, right? But over the first week, a few kids decide to deliberately snap the crayons in half just for fun.
Because the crayons are ruined, the class can't color anymore. So the teacher has to use the class budget to buy a replacement box. But wait, That money was originally going to be used to buy a fun new board game for everyone. By breaking the crayons, the whole class lost out on the game. And this is exactly how public money works. When public property, like street lamps or bus seats, are deliberately damaged, the government has to spend public money to repair them. Money that could have been used to build cool new parks or better services for everyone.
This responsibility to chair becomes even more serious when we talk about our heritage. Heritage refers to the important history, culture, places, and traditions passed down from earlier generations. Think of magnificent monuments like the Taj Mahal, Jantar Mantar, or the Sun Temple. These aren't just old buildings. They are hundreds of years old and carry the story of our past.
Sometimes you might see where someone has actually scribbled or carved their name into the stone of a monument, thinking it's a cool way to leave a memory. But is it really? If you make a mark on a regular piece of paper, you can just get a new piece of paper. But a historic surface, it cannot be replaced. Once it's carved into, its authenticity is damaged forever. Scribbling on monuments literally steals the experience from future generations who have every right to see it just as it was built.
Let's see how this builds into real daily choices. Every single situation has a responsible choice and a direct consequence. See a wrapper in the park? The choice is to put it in the bin, and the consequence is the park stays pleasant. A friend tries to carve on a monument? You stop them, and our heritage is preserved. Someone is tearing a bus seat? Don't copy them. Tell an adult, and damage is prevented. Visiting a friend's house? You ask permission to use their things, and their trust is respected. You literally have the power to create these positive consequences. I want you to imagine two totally different cities right now. In City A, whenever someone sees a mess on the sidewalk or a broken swing in the park, they just shrug and say, "Not mine, not my problem." But in City B, the citizens look at the street, the bus, and the park and they say, "Hey, we all use this, so I will take care of it." Which city would be cleaner? Which city would be happier? Honestly, which city do you want to live in?
Now, what's really interesting about this is that creating City B isn't just about having good manners. It's actually a rule. Did you know that India's constitution, which is the supreme rule book for the whole country, actually includes something called fundamental duties for all its citizens?
That's right. Right there in the Constitution, it lists the duties of a recognized citizen. Two of those duties are to value and preserve our rich heritage, and to safeguard public property. This means that protecting our shared spaces, not littering, and keeping monuments safe is literally a fundamental duty of being a citizen of the country.
It all comes down to this simple, powerful idea. Public property is shared by everyone, which means it must be protected by everyone. So the next time you step onto a bus, walk through a park, or visit a historic monument, ask yourself, am I leaving this exactly as beautiful as I found it, ready for the next citizen to enjoy?